I learned on this stage to stand with me. I learned that there's nothing to stop a performer. You know, when I was a kid, jumped into the crowd. Yeah. That's what we've been trying to do all the time is connect.
The showman gives you front row to his heart. The showman prays his heartache will chart.
It's not physical proximity, it's emotional proximity. Can you be honest with these people? And then just occasionally, just the threat that you can be in their face or they in yours. That's where we started from in our band. So I will go back to U2 with a different feeling.
What's up? How are you, baby?
Zane, coming out to play.
Yeah, I'm here. Wouldn't miss it. Never do. How you doing?
Oh, so good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. I love the film, man. Oh, it's funny because when it started, I was so lost because I was like, what am I going to experience here? Because it was you as I've seen you, but not you as I know you as you, as the singer, as the person who emotes with the music and everything. It's just very, very naked up there in a lot of ways. And I was just like, whoa.
Oh, it's arse out the window, very window.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
how many times do you try to escape out that with a rope?
Well, this bathroom in here.
Yeah.
That very bathroom.
How many times?
I didn't retch, but I had to close the door and sort of hold the wall for a bit, which is mad to be doing this all my life and I still get stage fright.
Well, let's talk about the stage fright though, because it must be a different stage fright than with the boys. Because you got the boys and you know that even if you're having, it's rare, an off night or it takes you a couple of songs to get into it, the whole point of a band is they see that, they know that, they lift their game, you meet them at some point, and at the end of the day, really, most people only remember the last few songs. It was the greatest show of all time, right?
Very hurtful.
Different.
Very hurtful.
That's why you always end with 40.
They remember the opening.
Opening and closing. Grand opening, grand closing. But it's true, it's why you always sing 40, because everyone goes always singing a song. No one remembers you fucked up the lyric in the third song.
If we're going to go through Greek tragedy, Zane, which I think we should, there's always, or Irish tragedy, the opening, the closing,
and
the trauma. There's always that moment. Every great show you've ever been to, and I'm not talking about our own band, but there has to be that moment where we get lost. We don't know where we are, who we're standing next with.
I was thinking, you must miss the times when you could say no to almost everybody, because you spent the last few weeks being so magnanimous and talking to so many interesting people. I've never seen
the salesman. I have to believe in what I'm saying. I sell songs, I sell ideas. Yeah. When U2 started out, this might be hard for you young people to understand, but because everyone's like, oh, we got to go talk to people about our music, man. Man, and we got to go talk
to people.
Well, I don't do that. Yeah. I was like, when I was 20, I was, please, will you let me speak to you about music? I used to call the Sounds magazine or the NME, and I'd call him with my cassette. Having slept in the train station.
Did you pretend to be somebody else at all? Never to do that?
No. It was a sort of time of punk. So they take your call and they'd say, "What have you done there?" I said, "Well, I'm just dropping you in. I've been reading you, and you're amazing, and you're a great writer. Would you listen to this cassette? This is my new band from Ireland. How old are you? 18." And then say, "Okay." If they were cool, like Paul Morley or whatever, they'd say, "I'll listen to it." And I'd say, well, I'll be back in half an hour then.
I'd say, keep you honest.
So I've always, if you believe in what you do, you lay out your table, you sell your wares. So someone said to me once, might have been me, that there's a different sound when people are trying to get out of the garage than people who are very conveniently in their garage, and they're very content in their garage. There's a sound, there's a roar, there's a certain feeling from rock and roll that wants to break out of itself, that
It
wants
sounds
to
like I
communicate.
Will Follow. That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Who was the first play? Was it Dave? Was it Dave Fanning? Was he the first person to play your music?
Yeah. Dave Fanning, unbelievable. And then also a conversation. It's like one of the reasons I wanted. This is the last interview that I'm doing to talk about myself. I am so fed up of the protagonist of this book, play,
You've been
film.
generous. You've been generous.
And it's going to end in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And and then I'm done. We can talk about the future the next time you see me, if you choose to.
I might get a little bit of future out of you today.
Oh, good.
Should we go downstairs?
Come on. This is Diana. Diana brings us safely to every night when I can't speak and feeling ill and whatever else. Oh, you got it. And okay, here, look. Then I think Jack Knight, Lee, Kate Ellis.
I'll say it is. Did you cop this one? Is that Donald Fagen?
Wow.
After you.
No.
Oh, Maestro.
No.
Yeah, so this is the first time you've set foot back on the stage, right?
Yeah, there's going to be, so around about a year.
Yeah, let's pause
I'm
for a
turning
second.
into a monster.
Yeah, you're stressing.
Well, I'm just getting into, but how do you play a character if the person you're playing is yourself?
Well, that's what I was
There's
gonna
nothing,
say.
you can't step into a suit of lights, which I'm quite good at, or I'm walking out with my mates. I've got Edge, Adam, and Larry, different feeling.
Yeah.
So this was my walk of shame. But
It could have been like this.
Soon
If
turned
you-
to swagger.
If you'd pissed the boys off, and I'm sure you have over the years, if you'd really,
my job.
Of course, but if you'd really pushed them too far, this could have been your first solo album out.
All of this could be yours. Come on, dude. I mean, he's kind of an amazing theater, by
Yeah, it's
the way.
beautiful. I mean, I just got goosebumps walking out here, and I ain't got shit to do except talk to you, and that's fun. But you had a whole different experience.
Oh, man.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, that's a wild thing.
So what are you feeling right now?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen, as a man who's been on tour with a space station and Mirrorball Lemons and all of the
This
things
is reductive.
over the years,
This is-
all of this could be fit in a station wagon. A table, 4 chairs, Edge, Adam, Larry, Ali, and then, so that was me, and rather respectfully, they put my father to rest. The second chair was for the old man. Wow. Yeah, no, there's a very special feeling. And it's a really extraordinary theater. I saw Bob Dylan here.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. He was singing like a bird.
Wow.
And wow.
Thanks for inviting us here, man.
Well, this is an excuse for us to meet as mates.
Yeah.
An excuse for me to return to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
Just so you know, my missus, Ali, the night before we were to open here, encouraged me to pull the plug. She said, don't do it. She'd seen the rehearsals. She says, find somebody to just talk about your book like everybody else. Why would you want to do a stage play? Listening to her advice has been maybe the greatest
Gift. Yeah.
gift of my life.
Yeah.
So in this case,
Yeah.
maybe a couple of others,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Why didn't you?
There's a feeling in me that I might suffer with more than any other member of U2. I fail again, fail better. I like the feeling of being right next to failure. But what had happened was, in the rehearsal, there was nobody. So there was nobody to laugh. And when it was filled, people started laughing. And I'm just not used to that. I mean, people are laughing at me for different reasons, but they were laughing with me. And I was like, I could feel because we all develop kind of caricatures as you get a bit famous, and they become restrictive, they just become claustrophobic. And I could feel mine just on this stage. And people were saying, it's a different kind of salesman. It's not the man selling us activism or his band. It was just talking. Shall we?
You know, I'm glad you said that, because it was about 10 minutes into the film and I realized that we were getting to know you.
There are things about that. Oh, it was a funny moment. This table and chairs. Noel Gallagher and his son came to see us in London. And I'm standing up at the very opening. If you make it through the first 3 minutes of Stories of Surrender, you're going to be okay. But this table can become operating theatre. It did. Where I get my heart surgery. It can become kitchen table, where all operas really start in the family. And it can become, the hospital bed where you say goodbye to your father. So that table and chair is kind of important. And I get up on it, as you know, in the first few minutes. And Noel Gallagher came to see us with his son. And his son, Bono's lost the plot. Dad, he's up on the kitchen table. He's what? So I was doing things that I'd never done before. And the minimal aspect of this, it was a very special moment. And, when I was a kid, there was a place called Project Arts Theatre in Dublin, and Jim Sheridan and Peter Sheridan ran it. Neil Jordan was there. Great. These went on to be great directors, right? And I learned a bit about theatre from going there at 17. And I remember, Samuel Beckett, and Krapp's Last Tape I must have seen there. And this idea of a table and chairs and a spotlight. And he comes from the darkness into the light. But he has to disappear back into darkness to get a few drinks. But so this is a world away from everything U2 does. But there's a part of the Irish that belongs to the theatre. The challenge, because we're good theatre actors, the Irish, how to make it into the lens, because as Andrew Dominic would tell me, the lens knows when you're lying, mate. Mm-hmm. I'm like, people know, I'm right here. He says, no, it can read your mind. So he pushed me to get those performances.
And I mean, it's heady material. I mean, out the gate, to your point, you're talking about something that had become a life-threatening situation, and obviously we didn't know at the time. That's very personal. When you're retelling that, it sounds like, you do it in a very effective way, but what did the surgeon tell you? I mean, what odds did he give you? What's the situation with that?
Well, people go through heart surgery all the time. It's not what it used to be in terms of risk or jeopardy. And I had the best people in New York, Mount Sinai. They couldn't have looked after me better. But that sort of hallucination, that sequence, that trippy sequence, it was based on a very real moment I had where, we've talked about my faith, and I'm not a very religious person, clearly.
But you have a huge faith.
Well, I have a deep faith.
Yeah.
And, normally if I pray, I feel something. My dad used to say to me, with you, it's like a two-way conversation. With me, I don't know. He said, you've got that. You've got that. He used to laugh at it, and then he said, don't lose it. And for a second, I just remember reaching out and thinking, have I lost this? This is the most important thing of all. In truth, I'm just off my mind on whatever they give you. And I went, ooh, because I'm not used to being away from that feeling. It came back, but not before I had some struggle breathing, or my lungs seemed to fill up with water or whatever. That was the scary thing. But people go through this every day. Yeah. And it's not very rock and roll to be talking about open heart surgery, except if you've read the John Lennon handbook, his definition of art, open heart.
100%.
Surgery, bleed onto the page. And even, Paul McCartney, in your interview with him, is one of my favorite. I can't believe that he is still with us, that we are walking around with Johann Sebastian Bach. Dude. Both of them had this vulnerability and their ability to follow what they thought of as love. The Beatles, some would say, overused the word love, but I think they actually just squeezed every drop out of it. Love is rage. Mm-hmm. John, Mother, you had me, but I never had you.
What is love?
Yeah. And then, so Paul filled the world with silly love songs. What's wrong with that? And it's like, that's still a bit of Liverpool attitude. What's wrong with that? And Ringo, we still have Ringo with us.
It's amazing.
Peace sign. we're looking for that transcendence, right? And what rock and roll is turning your rage
Yeah.
into beauty or something beautiful. As an artist, I know it is true that we can turn our worst experiences into these great moments. My brother called me just after he saw the film. I couldn't have handled it if he was in the cinema with us at Cannes. But he said, I wish I was there for you more. And I was like, oh. I said, you were there. I said, this is it's such an ordinary story, our family. There's nothing extraordinary about it. It's ordinary.
What a beautiful observation.
Yeah, it was just really great. And I just felt, well, that wound, and we all have these teenage wounds usually. I think a lot of people do. And then that wound becomes an opening. And I said to my brother, I said, but it gave me all this. It gave me this life I have. It turned me into an artist. Once you know what it is you want to do with your life, and you say, well, I'm an artist. Once you know, then it's like, okay, all of this is material. This is our canvas. This is all we've got.
Yeah.
And I was calling it my memoir. You know, because it's like,
That's
here's
good.
another
Coin
great
that.
thing about
That's
me.
good.
It's like, oh God. And I was like, and then I'm on the tour.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason I did the theater play
Yeah.
was so I didn't have to do the obvious selling of the book, you know,
Yeah.
on promotion. I just thought I'll do something creative with it.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful to the darkest moments of my life.
Surrender has been a beautifully executed experience for us to read and for the lucky few to witness, and now for us to watch. But I keep coming back to the core word, which is surrender. And I wonder whether or not even you were conscious when you began this journey that this was ultimately going to be a face-to-face, you and yourself, two-way conversation moment, or whether it started to unfold in over time.
If I have any regret, is that it's probably, you know, it's a lot of book. And that's why I call it 40 short stories, you know. The lesson, if you're asking me, is a practical one, something to do with the daily practice of writing. The other one is to shut up and listen. And I saw this quote, this one was a Sikh, you know, as in the Sikh community, Valerie Kaur. She said, to listen to the other side does not grant them legitimacy. It offers them humanity and restores your own. She also said, deep listening is an act of surrender. So there it was. And yeah, in politics and activism, I've always tried to, you know, be on the other side of the barricade, try out every different point of view. But if you're asking me at the end of the book, how did you feel apart from just exhausted and worried that the other band members would write their own? Oh my God, what would happen? Or Ali was to write her memoir, but you don't have to agree with somebody on everything. Just one thing, if that thing is important enough. That's how the one campaign came into existence.
Yeah. You know, one of the most moving parts of the film is watching you literally wrestle with this idea of kind of being a son again and going back to that moment when before all of this, someone else was in charge and you were part of a family and it was. And that's what I sort of took again from watching the film in particular, was that you had finally come face to face with the demon you had created out of this kind of unique environment that was really out of your control. Losing your mother in that regard at that time, the relationship that happened with your father subsequently, your brother off doing his own thing, surviving in his own way.
The discovery of another brother.
Right, exactly. So all these things, right?
The emptiness that gave me everything. It's toward the end of the film. It wasn't in the stage play, it wasn't in the book. and it just came out in the narration voice. I asked myself the question, was I ready to give up the emptiness that gave me everything? And at some point, you got to let go of those demons. And I feel like I'm walking a little different now. You may spot me of an occasion out a little late and think, no, you need to walk straighter, young man. But I feel freer. And I feel my voice has come into something different since, I mean, this is over the last 10 years, I would say this, after I made peace with my father. Because these things, they shape you. And they can change your very physiology. They can change the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you walk, the way you fall over, the way you sing. And I had that range since early days when I'm singing on the War album. And then Unforgettable Fire, singing outside myself and Pride in the Name of Love, you know. And one of the reasons that I'm able to do it now, and one of the reasons for staying in U2, because we all have to make our mind up why we would want to make a new U2 album, is I feel that my voice has got to a place that I've never been there before. And I thank the project of writing the memoir and the play and the book and the fucking film and all the rest of it for just getting all that out. I'm ready now for the future, ready for the sound of the future, ready to, I mean, we've already been recording, but my point that I started about 45 minutes ago, freedom. There's no point singing songs about freedom. You have to be free yourself. Freedom is a thing you can access, and we all need to be able to access it. And even with my faith, and even with my family and good fortune, there are times where self-consciousness has me awkward and, you know, and not free.
I really enjoyed the Esquire piece, and I'm really interested to know, because it was touched on, what that lifestyle intervention was, and because because you're an unstoppable force, and so for your family to say, okay, we've let him run long enough, like we need to have a conversation. What can you share about that moment? Because I love the family dynamic.
Well, they don't, you know, nobody wants to hear that sound and realize it's the emergency services taking your father away. It's not like I'm doing, you know, a load of drugs and I'm going to end up, you know, in a swimming pool, you know, drowning. But my drug of choice is pushing myself, not physically, but mentally, sometimes artistically, just to see how far, what's the elastic limit of this? And what I have to learn is that I do that in the band, and that's great because we needed somebody in the band like that. But I'm sure it was hard for them at times, and that they've forgiven me for that. I'm very grateful. I'm sure it was hard on Ali too. And then there was kind of reinforcements after the heart surgery. And they said things like, you know, you need to change your life. I'm like, so what? I go to the gym more or something like that? No, you need to relax. I am not taking up golf. I'm just telling you that right now. Okay, so what do you mean exactly? And then they were saying, well, you know, just do normal shit like, you know, do you watch the TV, like series and streamers? I said, well, you're my family if you don't think I am. I thought it was. They said, Dad, you see the first 5 minutes of everything we watch.
Yeah.
And you're gone.
Yeah.
So you have to watch stuff. And I'm like, what sort of stuff? And then I think two of them was like, have you seen Chef's Table?
Perfect.
I'm like, Chef's Table?
No, that's perfect.
I'm like, what do you mean? This is a man who grew up, you know, cooking badly for himself.
Yeah, but I see where they're going with that.
Anyway, it's that kind of thing.
Maestros, they want you to be inspired. They're not going to get you in through the door with low-hanging fruit. You're going to be like, well, what is this TV thing all about?
I watched with my eldest daughter, The Crown. I'm like,
perfect.
Really? And then later was, do you want to watch Succession? I'm like, what are you getting at? And the problem happens in so many homes. In American homes especially, people work 2 jobs just to get the rent.
Yeah.
I worked 2 jobs for 25 years. Full-time activist.
Yep.
With One in Red. Full-time singer with U2, occasionally moonlighting, as the others would see it. And I just have to sort of realize now that, as far as the activism is concerned, that, there are younger, smarter, as far as African activists are concerned, African activists that can lead it. We've got this woman, Ndidi, runs the One campaign now. She's incredible. Red is, these are like, they're not like songs, maybe they're more like albums. If you think of Red and One. It's okay. They go out into the world. I'm there. I'm not going anywhere. I'm there, but I'm backstage. I'm not front of house. And that means I can be more of a servant to these 4 chairs that are dotted around the stage here. I want to serve Edge. I want to serve Adam and Larry, while they still will let me, and Ali. And I said, Ali, I want to be better at being in the family. She says, they've all left home. It's a bit late. I walked Eve to her rooms and still holding my hand.
Yeah.
And I remember that feeling of, oh my God, as I let her go.
Surrender.
You're off. And that actually was close now.
Yeah.
There were moments where perhaps people have to just go away and make their own explorations. She's an actor, amazing actor.
Doing incredible.
Disciplined, funny.
Yeah.
If the kids have been raised up at the level I know you and Cara have done, then off they go.
Yeah,
and if our kids have been raised up at the level Ali has done, they're going to be okay.
You don't give yourself enough credit, which is that you do carry yourself with the humility. It's not lost on any of us who are U2 fans that you defer to your bandmates way more than you ultimately accept the accolade of being the frontman of U2 and the singer of U2. It's also not lost on us that you keep referring to them as The Edge, Adam, and Larry. So the last time that we spoke at Sphere, you were very respectful to what Larry was going through. You gave us just enough, but he's back. You're recording together again. So I think it's pretty safe space for us to ask, A, what was that time like when you had to push forward into this great technological, futuristic lemon in Las Vegas? And I wondered how it was for you now that that's a thing of the past, and we're going to get to the future in a minute. But just to dwell there for a second, what that time was like for a band to know that their founding member wasn't there for the first time in the history of the band.
Yeah, it was drummers.
That's all you have to say, drummers.
Yes, drummers. I mean, they take a lot of punishment.
Yeah.
From singers. No, but they take a lot of punishment just physically. And I think those physical things take a toll on you. And I think at different times in this band, various people have, you feel them just go, is this worth it? And Larry just had the smarts to take, he knew he needed to take time out to get himself sorted. And he did. And that was a very difficult moment to be in Las Vegas doing Acting Baby without him. We found this unbelievable drummer, Bram.
Fantastic.
As you know. And then Larry came, and Larry was really generous to Bram, wished him the best, But Larry, I mean, he's the only member of U2 who's come to see the band.
What
as
did
a
he?
guest.
What did he say? What was his feedback?
He became. We were there before we went on, and was a real moment.
Yeah.
He was very, very generous to Bram. But every band, you can hang on like a bad marriage. You can, and have people around and laugh at each other's jokes.
A marriage of convenience.
Yeah. U2 can't work like that. And if your injuries have you not sure about your participation in the band, we have to take that very seriously. And I think others have felt like that at times. And it's a strange thing to be blood brothers when you've all hit 60. And it's like this gang thing, are we going to grow out of it? Why would we grow out of it? Are they sort of remnants from teenage years? What's so important about a band is the verticality is not there. I don't want a boss. I don't want to be a boss. I'm in a band with people we're all on the same level. These are horizontal relationships, even if you're the singer. And you have an ego. Like, I was saying to somebody, yes, okay, but the U2 ego's even bigger. It's massive, like the protection of each other. And if we lose that, we've lost a lot. But I'll tell you, whoever walks away, and it could be any one of us at any time, you will lose the best arguments you could ever have had. And we are as good as the arguments we get. We are as good as, that's it. But as people get older, we get calcified. So it's like, I don't really want to move out of his way, maybe as much as I used to. Or, whoa, somebody's having a bad day.
But you know what? There's an antidote to that. It's kind of right there for you, I think, as a fan of the band, lifelong fan of the band. If you think about the sphere, like once more to the moon, like what other star do we need to travel to and plant a flag and say, we did it? We open the doors to this new way of experiencing immersive rock concerts or dance concerts, whatever you want to be, film. Larry comes back, you get to make another record. You choose to. I don't know why, man, not stylistically, you'll take it where you want to take it, but spiritually, I keep coming back to Unforgettable Fire. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's one of my favorite U2 albums, maybe my favorite, but it's probably the most important one, I think, because it's just all feeling.
It just reminded me of Elvis Mitchell, an amazing writer. I got to meet him in Cannes, and I thought we were going to talk about the film, because he's an incredible film critic, and he wanted to talk about The Unforgettable Fire. Mm. And he wanted to talk about the drums on The Unforgettable Fire. He said the emphasis on he went through it in detail. And then I was like, great, now we'll get back to talking about the film. He kept going back to it. And there's something about that album. We're talking about it again today. This is our second time round. Something about Brian Eno being in the room.
With you again?
He has been. Mm-hmm. And there's something about the room itself. And by that I mean great rock and roll records. You feel the room. A lot of music is made on the grid now. So you can tighten things up. The Beatles tightened things up in their own way. They stuck together different takes and whatever. Sure. And it's great for electronic music. But, the Black Keys or whatever, they're amazing at keeping things loose. But rock and roll has gotten quite tight. And
you got quite tight. You too got quite tight.
Yeah. So we got a little tight for Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience. But I thought, I want to feel the room. I want to feel the way these musicians bump up against each other. With Nirvana, you feel that. Wonder Horse, do you know them?
Love Wonder Horse.
Because you hear them in the room. So that'll be part of our future. It doesn't have to be all of it, because there's moments when you want to disappear into sounds that you've never heard before.
Of course.
But at the heart of our
spirit of
band
it.
is 3 musicians and a salesman.
You've stood on the stage on your own without the band. First time that's probably ever happened in your lifetime to this extent, where you've actually had to carry a performance without your friends around you. Coming again away from the sphere, and there's a great duality there. There's a great kind of almost a paradox there. And you find yourself now in a situation where you're like, I know myself better than I knew myself before. This process has had some effect on me. So, like, where is the ambition set? Say you make a beautiful album, you stand by it. Do you have to go out there and conquer again? Or can you do right by the music in a different way?
You're conquering yourself. So there's nowhere. And you two's never been out there to. People hear different sounds, like they hear electronic and think, oh, they're trying to be.
I'm sorry, hang on, I got to interrupt you there. We are applying to be the biggest band in the world. I was fucking there at the Astoria.
Okay.
That was a statement of conquer.
Yeah, but we've moved on.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Where are you now?
We've moved on.
Are you still applying, or can you let the music lead you and not the fight, is my question.
Just hold on. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, mate. I can't hear. What did you say? You're conquering who? Yourself? Oh, fuck off.
I think you understand.
Our director, Andrew Dominic.
I think you understand the question, Senator.
So, yes, I do understand the question. Before I answer it, I want to say this. I was on this stage on my own, and I was going to take off all the armor, all the rest, but I could not have done it without Jackknife Lee. Unbelievable composer, unbelievable producer. He's got an album out with the incredible artist called Lonnie Holly. It's called Protest with Love. It's mind-blowing. He does amazing work. I had this woman right there. So her name's Gemma Doherty.
Amazing.
She's a harpist, composer herself,
Singer,
avant-garde harpist.
Yeah, she was.
And she's right there. And I sang Sunday Bloody Sunday to her every night. She is from Derry. She is from the very city where that massacre happened. She is born after the peace process. Isn't that amazing? Or through the peace process. And it's an uneasy piece sometimes, but it's amazing that I had her on stage. Just there, I had Kate Ellis.
Again, brilliant.
Worked with Philip Glass, incredible, her own quartet, I think, or certainly combo. They're called the Crash Ensemble. She's, ridiculous musician. And they had to watch me founder and then find myself. I got through it. So I just want to answer that. That's how I could do this. That was, for me, a kind of Everest. It's not a big, obvious one, like...
Zoo TV.
It's not that. It was, can you be intimate? Can you speak? Can you look at people, talk to people about your life? What sort of a performer are you? I had to answer those kinds of questions. I had to think about, do you know Mark Rylance, the genius actor? I saw him in New York do a play called Jerusalem. I've never seen anything like it. I realize I'm really attracted to performers who don't feel so comfortable on the stage. They might follow you home. They might mug you on the way home. They might call you a taxi. They might, they might tickle you. Who knows what they might do. But I learned on this stage to stand with me. I learned that there's nothing to stop a performer from, when I was a kid, jumped into the crowd. Yeah. That's what we've been trying to do all the time is connect.
Yeah.
Even the Sphere with all that extraordinary technology, even Zoo TV, as you mentioned, it's all the same thing, to connect. It's not physical proximity. It's emotional proximity. Can you be honest with these people? And then just occasionally, just the threat that you can be in their face or they in yours. I wanted to learn more about that. That's where we started from in our band. And so I will go back to U2 with a different feeling. It's not just Sphere, which is in a way just like a giant version of this. I don't know what sort of shows we're going to do, but that distance will still be trying to break the fourth wall. The fourth wall is talking to camera as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's and
We've seen that a few times too, huh? We've seen this one a few times, right?
that's right. And myself and Larry early on actually jumped off a stage in the Marquee in London, went out the back door, got a taxi, and fucked off on the others. But that's it, you know.
Wait. That needs a little more color. You actually did stage dive or
No, just walked
walked out.
And I can't remember why, but he decided to. I was going to do it, and he decided he'd go with me. And it was just the two of us.
And the others are still there.
Yeah, and they were like, "We're gone." I was telling somebody recently I was in with the white flag of surrender,
Yeah.
the same surrender that we're speaking about today.
Yeah.
And in LA, I go into the crowd, and they're like, "Give it!" You know, it's a mad crowd. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm 23.
Yeah.
I'm singing about nonviolence. People are trying to get the white flag of surrender off me, and I'm like, me.
Yeah.
So I'm not, you know, like animal, and this is not good. This is not. I'm like, you want a brawl, and at least I did. I don't want that now. And even then, it was like a lover's quarrel. That's the way U2's relationship with their audience. It was, they bite you, I mean, we'd bite you, or kiss you. We wanted to get to that place so badly that I could even lose the run of myself. And like, give me back my white flag, give me back.
I need it for Red Rocks.
It's like,
I need it for Red Rocks. They got a show in 2 days. Did you?
Man.
Shit. Now I've brought that up. How sketch was that move when you climbed on top of the roof of the stage under a blood red sky?
Oh,
the
right.
iconic image.
I'm always looking for these moments, you know, there's the part performer in me. There's the, as I told you, the performer, they're not to be trusted, these performers. Yeah. And we go, as I say in the film, we go to all sorts of untruths to get to the truth. And that is the paradox of being a performer. So something spontaneous happens one night, you repeat it. I do. I go, oh, I like that feeling. So before Live Aid, when I jumped into the crowd and we didn't get to play Pride in the Name of Love because the singer went missing. But I had had that feeling on the tour during Bad of finding somebody and holding them.
It's a different story when there's 100,000 people at Wembley Stadium and there's...
Million people watching on the telly.
Yeah.
So those moments of climbing up the top of stadiums and
Yeah.
they're all, but they aren't, I'll just say this in defense of myself. It wasn't look at me, it was look at us. I wanted our band to be noticed.
Is it true that the band were furious with you after Live Aid because you pulled that stunt?
Oh yeah, no, there was the proper, there was proper firing squad. And I really felt for them because we just made Unforgettable Fire.
Yeah.
Pride in the Name of Love was our big song.
Yeah.
You only got to play 3 songs.
Yeah.
I need to play them quickly, according to Bob Geldof. And I never got to the 3rd one. Yeah. So they were very, very, very upset.
Meanwhile, the rest of us all around the world were astounded at the spontaneity and the humanity of that experience and just how, I mean, it was a game changer.
Do you know what was amazing? This is a tiny little thing, but it's a gigantic thing to me. I'm sure it was a tiny little thing to Lou Reed. But Lou wasn't on the bill, and he was watching the TV that day. He was my hero Lou Reed, and he was sitting there and he felt not connected with the world, and maybe the world had gone in a different direction than him. As if, I mean, are there 5 songwriters that can touch that in the entire world?
But we're still
No.
all susceptible to that feeling, right? No matter what we've done.
All of us. And he was sitting there watching the TV, feeling completely forgotten about. And next thing, this Irish man with a mad mullet started going do, and started singing to the crowd.
Yeah.
And because I used to, I don't know where it came from. Satellite Love, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It was bum, 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 satellite, because we're on this is Satellite Love. That's what Live Aid was.
But that was a spontaneous decision at the time. You didn't go out there and be like, okay, I'm gonna work a little bit of Walk on the Wild Side into this. It just came to you in the moment.
Well, no. We'd been doing improvisations.
Yeah.
But different ones.
Yeah.
Over the time, and it just because I'd gone out there and I was out there for a while, I could do this, and I met Lou Reed later. He was such a hero to me, and he told me that meant something to him.
Wow.
And we got close, and one of his best albums is called New York, and there's a song on it called The Beginning of a Great Adventure, and it's all the names he'd have if he had a child, and he puts me in there. Just a little. That's a train spotting. That's a train spotting.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, we became friends.
Yeah.
And he came on the Amnesty International tour. He did lots of stuff. The Velvet Underground, can you imagine? Reformed, came on the road, did however many gigs with U2.
Yeah.
I think they did 2 of their own, that was it. Never seen again.
Yeah, you had some wild ones. You had the Pixies come out and play with you. You had incredible bands come out and play with you. You're a fan. This is the thing. I think people see you as such a gigantic figure in the world of music that maybe we conveniently forget what a huge super fan of artists you are.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I've known you, you've been championing bands or loving bands or being, you just mentioned Wonder Horse as a beautiful example of that. Oasis. I mean, as much as, you had push and pull with those guys, because that's the fun part.
Oh, I love them.
Same.
I just love them. And what I really love is the sort of preciousness that had gotten a part of what was called indie music. They just blew it out.
Yeah.
And there was just a swagger, the sound of getting out of the ghetto, not glamorizing it. And they're both funny. I'm still very close with Noel, and he got a message to me, says that he's kind of shocked by how great the band is. So I think we're gonna have a good summer.
You're gonna go to a show, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But remember what they did as well. Those kind of big guitars, big Neil Young, generous sounds, they were against the law in the UK. And they're like, no, I'll do what I fucking want.
Yeah. And
then they had this kind of rhythmic, beautiful quality. Today, gonna be the day. That's almost R&B rhythm. But Manchester was very influenced by dance music. So they were groovier than anybody. They were rawer than anybody. And Edge and myself met them in the first album. We went to Noel's flat. And they're like literally in a basement flat, first album. And it's like, yeah, I'm into you too. Noel was like, yeah. You're the Edge. Wow. And Liam's whatever. And I'm saying, America's great, and because at that time...
That message didn't get through.
It didn't get through...
In the end.
Till now. By the way, Oasis message didn't get through maybe to America, and America didn't get through to... So this will be like their first tour in the US. People that know how great they are. And they played with U2 in San Francisco. We're all watching on the side stage, they're at absolute peak. And they've just made one request: can they turn the PA in the stadium around so they could just enjoy it? And so we're up watching them, and they're there. And our audience hadn't got into the stadium. There was some delay, so it was only half full. And people didn't know who Oasis were, you know? So they're kind of looking around. And I'm like, oh man, they've come to San Francisco, come to California. I want them to have the best time ever. So I'm like standing at the side of the stage as they come off, think I'm going to be consoling them.
Yeah.
And I just hear one of them say, oh, that was unbelievable. That was amazing. Like, and I realized they weren't looking at the crowd. They were just listening to each other through that big PA.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You said before that, you know, if the Gallaghers can get back together, then perhaps world peace isn't too far away. You know, it's tough, man. You have been a vocal proponent for a conscious and subconscious commitment to humanity, to the idea of actually accepting that we only have this one rock and we got to figure this out. And that's complicated, and you've been as much of it as possible. As you mentioned before, you know, handing over what you've lovingly built with others to run and to grow is a you know, a powerful moment in your life. And yet, it's been noticed in the last 3 weeks that you've come out swinging, you know, and I feel like for the first time in a while, in front of people, we know it's always going on behind us, you've been stepping back up and saying things we haven't heard you say for a while. It's been appreciated.
Some dark, swirly stuff about. And, you know, I've got really great conservative friends, you know. I've worked with Republican presidents, Democratic presidents. I'm Irish, don't have a vote here. And the one campaign worked with both sides.
Yeah.
It's the very design of it. But what happened with I can't even speak, you know, Doge. I explained that since they cut, because without warning, without a heads up, they just cut off USAID, PEPFAR gets screwed. That's the big AIDS program we started with George Bush. We helped be part of it. George Bush, he led it. Barack Obama followed through on it. Biden too. But to just rip these life support systems out of the walls, just like, and call it a criminal enterprise, was more than I could take. And if we're talking about criminal enterprises, I think we have to consider that there's a difference in running a country and running a company. And there's a difference between job losses and life losses. And when you seem to delight in firing federal employees who are working on behalf of the world's poor, and they are driving the trucks or helping at the customs to get food that's rotting while kids are starving in Sudan or Yemen or Gaza or whatever. I would describe that as, if love is the realizing of another's potential, the squandering of it, I think we can go as far as calling it evil.
In the spirit of what you've established throughout your life in terms of not taking a partisan approach to positive change, to solution, you would still sit with these people.
I can't believe what I'm witnessing. And there's incredible people I know in the GOP, and they're still there, thank God. Some great people. But what's going on in that administration, I know that office, you know, the budget office, and I can't even pronounce his name because it so upsets me. He's the man who said, I want federal workers to feel nauseous when they come to work. I want them to feel like they're not wanted, because they're not wanted. These are people who work all over. I mean, I'm sure there's waste. I'm sure there's too big a bureaucracy and people want to shrink government, shrink it. You know, fine. But this is bullying. This is humiliating. This is sick. And I don't want to be in politics, but I can't go into that administration. When there's that level of cruelty, actually, that's the word. And freedom, rock and roll, that's what we do.
You go back to the studio and you go to the place where it began. As a person who has given so much incredible art.
I've received far more than ever gave.
That is true. But we have done very well out of the trade. Beautiful music that changes our lives, and the promise of more to come. This renewed energy with the band that I'm glad we spoke about, Larry. For a while, I didn't know the facts. I'd have to get used to a new U2. I'm glad it's the same U2, you know, with renewed energy. And I guess as we wrap up our time this time, I'd like to ask you, where do you go from here? No more talky about the protagonist of his own story can now go back to being part of a different story. So where to now?
I'm going to the pub. It's all about you. I wouldn't mind
I'm down.
if you have a moment.
Yes, I'm down.
I'm going to do the pint.
The actual pint.
I want an actual. I don't want a show business pint.
Yeah.
I want a Black Bush. That was my father used to drink.
Yeah.
Which was a Protestant whiskey, and he's a Catholic man.
Yeah, I love that part of the film.
The attitude there, right?
Yeah.
And as regards your bigger question, I've been in the studio. I've heard these men. They are remarkable musicians. And Larry's been staying late, working on his parts. Edge, last time he said, I have 300 songs. I said, they're not songs, Edge. They're just guitar parts. He said, well, I have 25 great songs. I said, actually, yeah, we've worked on probably 25, but 15, you have to whittle it down. I don't like long albums. So we have to get it. It should be 10 songs, but I don't have a timeline on that, and they don't either.
What a blessing, what a gift to be able to go into that room and feel that spirit still, right? Aren't we lucky? We're still here.
Yeah.
You know, what a beautiful story you told, full of tragedy and heartbreak, but ultimately, man, that's this redemption. And, you know, you get to like yourself, right?
Working on it.